Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Investor Podcast. Today, I have a really exciting conversation for you with someone that has just really had an impact on me, has had an impact on my team, and even just the entire spiritual investor community. I could say a ton of things about her, but instead, I'm just going to let you see for yourself. She is really going to share a lot with you that I think is going to shift your world. I guess let's just start this out as we're starting it out, which is this is Sabrina. She's amazing. She's one of everyone's favorites, although like everyone in the mastermind has their own kind of like deal and everything, but she's definitely a shining light in the spiritual investor mastermind. And I mean, just to even have her on and be able to be myself, be in her energy, plus sort of have you guys get to know her as well is just absolutely magical. So one of the things that I asked her when we first came on, and there's really no start and stop to this, I guess, because this podcast is a conversation. It's just a real conversation. When I asked her, because she said she's excited, I said, if you could bottle that excitement, what would that be? So what would it
Um, I don't know. What really comes up for me is just the fact that
be?
I kind of like manifested and claimed this like quite a while ago. When I like first started like getting to know your podcast and like getting to know your world a little bit, I was like, I'm gonna be like in Elizabeth's world. I'm gonna be on this podcast. So I've been thinking about this for like a year.
Really? That is so amazing. Well, that's so amazing on so many levels. I think for me, I think for you, because like when you think about something for a year and it comes to fruition, it's like there's just such like beautiful validation for
Mhm.
that, you know? And I think that's inspiring for people because everyone has that thing that they've been thinking about. And so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is is that sort of so you kind of meandered your way in, so you sort of came into the podcast, and then did you come in through the SI Club first, or did you just go? You did, and you went to the
Mhm.
mastermind, right? That's right, because you that's right, you were incredible. My team fell in love with Sabrina, by the way, as soon as she came in, because one thing I will say about you, and I want to just like I want to hear your version of this, but I also want to make something very distinct to people that I see about you. That I guess this is also maybe a reflection back, which is
Sure.
one of the most successful, one of the most uh, dominant traits that I see in very successful people is that when they take something on, they go vertical. They live it. They just go in it, right? And so I would say it's an ability, you know, because it is like, you know, we choose what we focus on. And ever since you came into the club, like you have been so present and you have been so there. And I also think that there's a certain level of openness and vulnerability that's required for someone to go vertical. And it says a lot about your um the amount of confidence that you have within yourself. And so I just want to say that I appreciate that because, of course, you've been magnified even more inside the mastermind, which is so fun for us all. So I just wanted to preface that.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much more than you know. The version of me that's capable of that has really been developing over the past 2 years. I don't know exactly how much you know about my story, but it was actually 2 years ago last week, the night that I realized I was a trans woman. And I weirdly realized a lot of things very quickly. And one of those things was I was socialized as a man, so I had a lot of the like confidence and willing to speak up and things just already a little bit more like given to me, I guess, that sometimes women don't have. And I was like, I have the chance to be a really powerful voice, and I have the chance to give other people permission to be vulnerable and authentic and whatever that is. And so it's really been like a very intentional part of this journey.
God, that is so wonderful. You know, I never even thought of that. You kind of have the best of both worlds, don't you? I love it.
Yeah.
And you worked in finance as well, which I probably should have said that at the beginning. So like you have all of this stuff that you were able to bring forward. And speaking of that, can you go a little bit deeper for us so that we can understand what do you want to bring forward?
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I was a little bit nervous for the podcast because I haven't had as much clarity recently as I've wanted. When I left my finance job in April, I thought a lot of things were going to drop in. I thought I already understood like what am I doing? What's the message? All of these things. And then I kind of realized I didn't, and it was really uncomfortable. And so much has happened through the mastermind actually with you talking about things like, not holding on to certain identities or just like going beyond, who you think you currently are. And I realized that it's all about freedom, and it's actually been about freedom since I was 15. I had this night where I had this conversation with my dad, and I don't remember the exact words he used, but I ultimately realized he was saying that he didn't believe in himself. And it kind of shattered my world. And I realized a bunch of people around me didn't believe in themselves. And I was like, I don't know what was in me at 15 that I was like, I'm not going to live that way. I'm not going to settle. I'm not just going to like, I guess play the game or just do whatever, I'm told I'm supposed to do. Like I want to like have a really amazing life, and I want to like feel truly free. And so a lot of my work is exactly that. And kind of in a business sense is where I've been focusing, is like how can more entrepreneurs do things they really love and just be free.
Oh, I love it. Well, it's kind of like you are emulating what you are doing because I would say that's exactly what you're doing right now. I mean, you're learning how to call in more money. You're becoming more open to money. You're stepping into the challenging things. You're expanding money through investing. You're becoming more of who you are. And that's really a lot of the deep work that I've seen you do. And I also want to just reveal to people that, Sabrina doesn't just come into the group with all oh, this is what I had such a wonderful day yesterday. Like when I say that Sabrina goes vertical, like she comes in with oh my God, like I don't even know how I'm going to get through today kind of thing. Like, or she's, she brings who she is. And we always talk about like money and freedom, and of course, like we all want we all want to have so much money that we don't even have to think about money because that feels like freedom. And while that is true, true freedom is being able to show up as you are, and you do that so well already. And so it's not surprising that you want to merge that and sort of bring that into business. And like we started this with, you have a unique angle on this because you can see different ways that I think women probably can't. And that is what you've seen that is what a lot of women struggle with, is this permission thing.
Yeah. And it's weird because I even struggle with it sometimes, but it's funny that you talk about that showing up vulnerably and not always showing up with just all the good, or like I guess I think of that almost as like a mask, like pretending everything's fine, even though, obviously like life happens. I literally just had that kind of morning. I was actually like all over the place. I just started my own podcast and it didn't upload correctly, and I was really not having the best morning. And it was only like 45 minutes ago. I was like, how you talk all the time about standards, especially in the mastermind. I was like, I've got to get myself right, not in a way of like I've got to perform and I've got to be like 100%, something for this podcast, but in a way of like, I need to show up with my full self. Like, I need to be able to show up with presence. And I don't want all of these things this morning that distracted me. So I literally like took more time for myself before I jumped on here with you, because I just knew that I wasn't willing to show up with the version of me that was showing up earlier this morning.
Oh my God. I am so glad that you brought this up because you, of course, you have tapped into something that is, I think, really, really on the forefront with people. Because for me, what you just described is true empowerment. And and there's only one thing, there's only one frequency, and it's love. And then we label it and we're always trying to use these other frequencies to get back to love. So empowerment at the level that you just described, which is you are managing your own frequency so that you can show up in a way that is open and available to others. So this is the opposite of ego, right? What
Mhm.
we're seeing a lot now is we're seeing this, like, I'll say empowerment or authenticity out there where people are like, I need to speak my truth. Well, it's not that you don't need to speak your truth, but if you're speaking your truth and you're being an asshole and you're hurting someone else, that is not empowerment. Empowerment is what Sabrina is showing you now. Empowerment is manage your own fucking frequency based on a higher standard of who you know you want to be, and then show up. And you know what? You're still going to have the shit show out here, but you at that frequency will be able to weather the shit show. And that's the key here, is because everybody's trying to fix the shit show. And I'm like, but it's not really a shit show if you're willing to do what Sabrina just said, which is internal empowerment.
Yeah, it's just the universe like mirroring things back to us. Or, I mean, I guess we really are the universe. We are source. So we're sort of doing it to ourselves. It's like me
Yes,
saying, like, you need to see this morning. You need to work through this morning. And yeah, it's not bad. It's literally just us teaching ourselves.
it is. And I'm going through a lot of this stuff now too. Like I'm like creating these little mini bombs around me and I'm like, but I'm trying. But the reality is that I am bumping up against my capacity left and right now. So I am creating bombs, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is how am I going to show up for it? Right. Um, and I think that we have to get to a certain level of like the shifts within us that allow us to show up. And so I would love to hear from you. And I think this would help the listeners as well, because we're always looking for that. Well, what changed? Well, what shifted? Well, where's that pivot point? And so it doesn't really matter whether it's in the mastermind, outside of the mastermind, or both, or whatever. If you were to think of, um, like a pivot point that's happened probably within the last, like, let's say 3 to 6 months, what would that be?
Um, Definitely both inside and outside of the mastermind, but coming back to that like identity and authenticity thing, you probably don't realize how much you challenged me with that because I think still somewhat in a resourceful way was very much out in the world, I'm a trans woman, this is my experience. And in some ways that's great because I'm like we were just talking about, I'm sharing a different perspective. But in other ways, it's me almost saying like this is who I am and I'm not willing to like see myself any other way. And it was stopping me. And I've started to realize that I don't necessarily need to like always talk about that identity or I don't need to say this is exactly what my work is or this is exactly what it's going to be. And so that challenged me very hard. That was like a really weird edge that I had where I like again knew that maybe there was some good to the way that I was showing up, but you were also still like over here challenging me in a big way. And it really took me like maybe almost a month. I think it's already been a few weeks since you started bringing that up in the mastermind to like really start to realize the beauty of, or even like the freedom of not feeling like I have to show up a certain way and just kind of seeing where everything goes.
Oh, I love that. And I remember the conversation. I think it was part of, we had that conversation in one of the live calls, didn't we?
Hmm.
Where, yeah, I remember that, where it was like we have this version of self-expression where we feel like we need to tell people who we are. And then we have this version of self-expression where they decide who we are. And when they decide who we are, and it's that powerful version, that's where the expansion factor kicks in. Because when I've decided who you are, I'm carrying you within me.
Mhm.
And that is the merging of us. And when I go out there, I can't wait until I get to talk about you and I get to say, oh my God, guess what? This is like Sabrina on the podcast. This is what she does, da 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 da, right? But if you are telling me who you are, then it's going through my filter system, which I have brokenness and conditioning too. We all do. So I'm only getting the parts of you that I can take, and it's actually like it's not serving us either, right? And so I think our opening, and you are teaching us this in this very moment, which is when someone else tells you who you are and it resonates, you're there.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
what we're going for. And we're creating the space for that rather than trying to tell someone, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Because when I don't tell someone who I am, they're curious. And curiosity is a drawing into the void. It's
Mhm.
an invite, right? But when I'm like in somebody's face and blah, 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 they're not curious. They're like, eh, eh. And
Yeah.
I think I love that you brought this up. Thank you, because I think we're all going through it, myself included. We're all going through it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a huge pivot point for you.
And honestly, one of the like hard things in conjunction with that is the receiving. I have been struggling to, when I hear things like what you've said about me, to like just sit with that and to realize like, yeah, this is who I am now. Because in many ways, like coming back to that 15-year-old version of me that I mentioned, that realized things and like reality was shattered, I really started to dream in a big way about who I could become. And I kind of weirdly fulfilled this vow to myself that I made at 15 very recently. I'm so much of who I intended to become. And I'm 30. I turned 30 in April. So it's like still blowing my mind. Not that time or the age has to matter, but it's still blowing my mind, and I'm still trying to like come to the realization that like this is who I am right now. And that I could even be that much more powerful tomorrow. So I'm receiving that a lot better in this moment than I might have even a couple weeks ago, but that's been really difficult too.
Oh God, I'm so glad you brought up the receiving part. It is. It is. It's quite challenging because receiving is basically just is like retaking in the form of us that we perhaps don't want to see.
Mhm.
And who wants to do that, right? It's like, don't feed me chopped liver, right? I came here for a fillet and you're giving me chopped liver and you're expecting me to be okay with this, right? Um,
Yeah.
you brought something into the space, and because you have a wisdom about you. You've probably heard that before. You have a wisdom. You're like, oh my God. It's like I could have met you on the streets in India or something, you know?
Yeah.
um, you brought something into the space that came up for me. And this is really, in some ways, it's like me learning, me asking you to reflect back to me, but at the same time, hoping that this kind of resonates with other people as well in their life, which is, so when I said those things, um, which were they see, it's like kudos for you because that could have been polarizing for you and you could have been like, oh my God, what, you like get up and run away, right? But you didn't. When I said those things, so because I am saying things without intention, uh, and because I'm saying things to authentically provide and love someone, I don't have fear when I say those things. What I've
Sure.
noticed is that, um, because I have one relationship in my life in particular where I'm kind of trying to like make things better for this person. I'm trying to orchestrate it. Let me make this world better for this person. And what I find is I keep like running into walls. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm making this world better, but yet a lot of times I am showing up inauthentically because I'm kind of hiding what I really want to say because I'm doing it for the benefit of them, but ultimately that's not benefiting them. So
Mhm.
there's this line between like saying something from a place of love, but also sometimes not saying something, and that is love. So I would
Yeah.
just love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, honestly, it's so interesting because I just had coffee with a friend yesterday, and the way he put this was so incredible. At one point, he was going to share something like slightly difficult with me, and he was like, "If you don't mind, I'm just going to drop a pebble in your experience, and however that ripples or whatever that does, like." You can take it or leave it basically in a very loving way, and that's almost what I feel like you do in the podcast and in the mastermind and in the community is it just feels like you like drop these little pebbles that you ripple out and have more of an effect usually later on. We don't even always realize like how much what you said is affecting us in that moment, but it feels very like I get what you're saying that it's not intentional. Like you're not like purposefully saying certain words, but it almost feels really skillful at the same time, if that makes any sense. Like I can tell you had to show up with a lot of intention to be able to like let the right words come through you, I guess.
Mhm. Thank you for talking about this and explaining this, because as you're saying this, I'm trying to think, because when I'm saying these things, I feel like my arms are wide and I'm pulling in the energy of other people. So I actually don't even feel like I feel like I'm kind of saying it to myself and everyone. I think that's the difference. I
Mm,
think, because if I feel like I was saying it to someone else only, then I would be judging.
yeah,
I don't also include that, then there's a comparison, which means there's a judgment, which means there is a lack of oneness. And so what it's doing, and this reflection back is helping me sort of raise my, it's not that I want to change it, but our standards keep changing based on our reflection back. And
mhm,
so if I'm in a situation where I don't also see that in myself, then perhaps it might feel authentic, but maybe it's not. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. I love it. It's so cool to be able to be at this place of like questioning things, but not always needing the answer right away. I feel like that makes the adventure so much more fun because it's not like, oh my God, I really, that kind of rocked me and like having a problem with it. It's just, oh, that's interesting. Like I'm gonna reflect on that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that there is a level of um, when we don't have to always be right,
Mhm.
there is a lot of freedom. Like, and I'm looking at that in my life. I'm looking at areas in my life where I'm like, where do I almost know too much that I need to unknow?
Mhm.
Because, like, if I don't unknow, then I'm blocking. And it doesn't matter what I know or don't know. What matters is that I'm not willing to unknow. And
Yeah.
so I am looking at ways, I'm like almost like observing myself in terms of that in order to um, unlock different things. And I'm also looking at what's challenging, you know,
Yeah.
as well. And I think, when we talk about this with money, we are just effectively money conduits. We're out here trading energetic currency for whatever form of abundance, right? I feel like this is only it's getting more and more so now, is now that people are using, they're like basically like self-expressing who they are, like we just talked about, like the business for you, and they're exchanging that energetic currency of really truly who they are for money. And I think like probably one of the most classic cases is, do you know that Indian spiritual guru named Amma? Do you remember her? She
I
gives,
don't think so.
anyway, so she tours all over the world and she gives hugs, and it is just lines and lines and lines of people out the door. And so she just has this resonance where it's like this energy that she's able to emit for people coming on stage. I mean, people wait like throughout the night to give her a hug and
Yeah.
go up there and you do that. And so it's like if someone ever asked her, is that a good business idea? I mean, like that would not, like, but it's phenomenal. Or even you look at Abraham Hicks, who, what, 30 years ago, just basically started putting people on stage and asking them questions, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you are, I feel like, on the journey of helping people get there, because I do believe like that we're getting closer and closer and closer to a future where not only will the wealth be in the hands of those who are conscious, because that's the real pivot shift, but
Yeah.
also that people will be trading truly like who they are for whatever form of abundance. What is your thought on that?
Honestly, I think about this so often, and I think you know from the mastermind I've talked about wanting to like make big change in the world, but I've been kind of vague about it, and I really had to. I think I mentioned it a little bit last week. I really had to work on that, and I had to work on allowing myself to dream a little bit bigger and have more specific desires. And I genuinely think that conscious business and conscious wealth is going to change the world. I mean, it literally has to. And it's not that I think there's not other ways of doing it too, but that's one of the reasons why I'm so focused on working with entrepreneurs, because I'm thinking someone like you is a great example. Like you're going to put out really impactful work in the world. You're going to pay the people that worked for you really well. You're going to treat them really well. You're going to allow them to be more of themselves. You're going to help them grow. Like that's just such a different ecosystem than so much of what we know work to be right now. And so, yeah, it's like this whole conversation is close to my heart. Like I think like you said, it's already changing. And I think it's also changing at a pace that we can't really comprehend. Like I actually think a lot about human design when I talk about this and some of the other modalities that suggest that 2025 was already a massive shift and like 2027 and some of these like I think we're here. I think it's happening now. I think in some ways it feels weird or it looks weird because especially in the US there's so much happening, but I think there's so much happening because it's making space for everything else that's coming. So I think we're literally right on the cusp of like a completely different way of life and way of business and all of these things. And I think we have no idea that maybe even 2 years from now, it's not going to look anything like it does right now.
No, it's not. And you're exactly right that it is already changing. I mean, it is just recently where it has shifted that smaller teams actually have a stark advantage. Why? Because of AI, right? And you can change and you can turn and you can pivot and do things, right? Another thing that I think has changed in the industry, and this comes from, talking to some friends of mine who are just really just spot on with just marketing and stuff, is that um, just even social media and the way that we're talking to people or not talking to people. I would say it's been like that in the past. Seeing that so much is going more sort of like in the groups, so like basically having people join groups and then like just the shocking amount of value that's going on inside groups. Not to say it's not
Yeah.
going out there on social, but what I find is that sometimes people stay in the hamster wheel if they're just trying to learn from social, because you're just getting like you're getting the crumbs, you're getting
Mhm.
you're getting the look here, look there, right? Which I don't know how much of that is really distillable, versus if you take that extra step like you did, like go vertical, get in the group. You got to get into a group that's really going to blow you away though, with
Mhm.
values. I think the standards are so high, right? And so I'm always looking to myself, right? Like, oh, like if it's not blowing me away, it's not blowing them away, and vice versa, right? And I think
Yeah.
but what's funny and what I'm trying to catch up with is it's so hard to explain too, because I think it's changing so fast. Like even the mastermind this time, I've told you guys, it's so different. It's like we've had great masterminds, but this one is so different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What is your experience of the mastermind? Because I don't even know that I can describe. I think I do a poor job of it, really.
I don't know. I think in a weird way, it's one of those things that's hard to describe, but I'll just say it just I think it's the way that coming back to the way that you challenge us. I think one of the best ways to describe it is you just challenge us to take massive leaps in like who we are and how we show up in the world.
Mm.
And I feel like there's a lot of groups you can go in where yes, you're still getting a lot out of it, but it's kind of like how you also talk about like getting on your yoga mat and then like feeling really good afterwards. Like I don't feel that from the mastermind. I don't feel this like every time I get off a call, I feel really good, or I necessarily feel like the old identity is validated. I feel more challenged to like make a big leap or to move past an edge. And so I feel like it feels like the mastermind is like we're really doing the work. And that's not to compare in a way or like suggest that other people aren't, but I think sometimes we show up in ways or we create containers where we're just nudging like slightly forward, and that's okay too. But I feel like your mastermind is like let's just throw it all out the window and let's like find new versions and find new ways like let's just get after it because why not?
Yes, yes. Oh my God, thank you so much for this reflection back because um what you first of all, I'm so glad that that's your experience. Like I could not be more grateful in this moment because I feel like everyone who comes into the mastermind, like, and we do use that very first call just to get to know each other and like shoot the shit. Okay, this is what are you doing in life? And da da da, you know. I feel like I fall in love with everyone in the mastermind in the beginning. And I'm even feeling emotional about it because like you're helping me see that is part of it, is that I do. And I've never realized that. And I think what it does too is hearing you describe it or is showing me where I show up in the mastermind. What you're describing in the mastermind is how I live my life. And when we are the self-expression in our work of who we are in life, then there's no difference, right? Um, but it's showing me that when I'm in the areas of my life that I'm not that. Do you know what I'm saying?
I also need to share with you, like, sure, I do see where there's different levels, right? Like I do see where you do show up in the mastermind, maybe even more so. But I know for sure that you also show up that way in the other spaces, including the podcast. Like you said, like that's just who you are. Because when I first started listening to the podcast, I think it was like a year and a half ago or something like that. I actually put it down for a couple months because I was like, I don't really understand this. I don't feel super comfortable with this. Like you say very challenging things, not just when someone's like on the call, like really close with you, like you really challenge everybody in every space that you have and in the best way. And so, yeah, like I even had a little bit of trouble with the podcast at one point because I was like, I don't know that I want to feel these things.
I love that. I love that you're saying that. No one could give me more value. And I feel like I'm feeling very selfish because I'm like, I didn't mean to make this about me, right? No one could give me more value than you're giving me right now, which is like having a real conversation with how this is shifting you. Um, because I can't read the label from outside the jar, right? Um, I hear this a lot where people they say, I didn't totally understand what you were saying, but I knew that I needed to keep listening.
Hmm.
But then I find it finally clicked and my life has shifted.
Hmm.
Do you know, I hear that. So I think you're saying that, which what it does is it makes me actually do nothing. Like do nothing different than what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
I had someone the other day say to me that I have my own language, that I kind of
Yeah.
like speak a different language, which I don't know that. And she was like, well, what if people don't understand the language that you're using? And I'm like, well, first of all, how do we know that? We're only in here.
Yeah.
Secondly, I guess if they don't understand it, they'll go away. Right?
Yeah. I mean, in many ways, I sometimes I, I don't think it's the worst thing to not entirely understand. Like, I'll be honest, I don't know if I could think of an example right off the top of my head, but there are things you say that sometimes it takes me like a week or two to like digest it a little bit more and to really understand what you meant by it, or maybe what it meant for me. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that. It kind of almost just feels like you're just like transmitting the what we need to hear, and maybe it's not always meant to be entirely understood. Maybe sometimes it's just meant to be felt.
Yes, and thank you for that. And also, you are exactly right. I do not feel like um, any of this is me. Like when I'm really there, like, and I would say, like in those mastermind calls, it will, like you say, even here on the podcast, right? When there's like a state of being, and I think we all access this. So I'm not saying that I'm anything special or anything, but we get to this place where it's like, for me, the experience is the world could blow up around me right now, and I wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
And it's not because that's not important. It's because the like I'm laser focused, like this conversation is my entire world, right? And so bringing that level to it, but it doesn't happen unless it's also not me.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so is it, this is the question, is it the seeking of doing that more in the world, or is that the ego version of us that wants to do more of it because we're so conditioned to achieve? And what we're doing now is just fine. And if we were actually okay with it's just fine, then we would be doing more of it.
Yeah.
So it's like the removal of the trying, the removal of the chasing, which is what we talk about with money. Like you take the chasing away from money and people can't wait to give you money.
Yeah. I've actually struggled with that quite a bit. I feel like it's one of the things I haven't shared as much, also because some of the downloads just came since last week, and since we're taking a break this week, I haven't really had the chance to share it yet, but I really have been chasing for a long time. And then how sometimes we have this big like pendulum swing. Like I went from this chasing to like, okay, I'm gonna just figure out how to be grateful and figure out how to not need and all of that, but I also accidentally kind of I found out how to not want either. And I wasn't allowing myself to like want more wealth or to want more impact or anything like that. So I've been really toying around with a lot of that lately, what you're talking about, especially trying to figure out like if it's ego or not. And I feel like what I've come to is I feel like the universe or source, or again, maybe even you want to say it's just us mirroring it back to ourselves. I feel like when we have like one of those ego desires, it almost feels a little bit fleeting. It's almost like I would love to do this. That would be really cool if I got to do that, or I got to do this for more people. But when I think of like the things that I'm at least currently perceiving as like more sacred, it's like an ache inside of me to like do that work or to like help that many people. And it's like never ending. Like it just feels like it's deeper in there, I guess, if that makes sense.
It does. And okay, this is great. So from that state, because I wanted to ask you this anyways, but I didn't ask you, I was meant to ask you this now. From this state, what do you really want to do in the world? Because a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, who is this powerful human?
Yeah, this really started to come to me within the past few days. I and I'm using comparisons just to like try to put words to it because I can't even really put words to this. I want to be like an MLK or a Gandhi. I really want to just change the world. Like, I want to leave this world knowing that billions of people decided to truly live, whatever that means. Maybe that's creating your own business, maybe that's just a better relationship with money. So whatever it is, it doesn't really matter because, again, freedom can take so many forms. But I want to leave with people feeling like they can truly live. And the reason why I kind of compare that in a sense to people who we typically think of more of like activism is I feel like what some of us are learning, like I know you know this too, is my presence and my frequency is in some ways more important than the words that I say, or like if I go protest in the street. And that's not me necessarily saying those things aren't needed or they don't matter, but I'm just worried about transmitting that, like giving that permission for you to feel alive, for you to truly do the things that you want, because then you're going to change everybody else around you. And so I truly think that's in a sense the new way of us changing things, or like the new activism. Like I'm not always speaking on like trans rights or something like that because I don't really think I need to do that a lot. I think I just need to show up and give you permission to do whatever your thing is. And then now we're just going to change everything together. We can't help but change it because of the frequency that we're arriving at when we're doing the work that we really love.
Oh my God. That was so beautifully said. And I love that you brought up trans rights, and I love the way that you say it because it's not better or worse, but not everyone has to be like out with the flag, right? And I almost can't even speak. I'm so like just moved by this because you are, just by you being the self-expression of who you are and being trans, you are speaking up for trans rights
Hmm.
because you are being who you are. And so someone is going to come in contact with you that would have never even been at that parade or whatever. Someone that lives like in the middle of nowhere who's been watching TV and been totally against it and is like, wow, this person just changed my life. I just got chills. This person just
Yeah.
changed my life. And she's trans. And that is powerful.
Yep. They're going to experience me, and
Yes.
they're going to realize who I am. And that's going to speak more volumes than it ever could for me to hold that flag and say, like, why are you doing this to me? Like, why do you hate me? I don't need to do that. I just need to show up exactly how I'm showing up right now. And it's going to affect you. I actually even think about it sometimes when I'm at like the grocery store. One of the things I love the most about who I am and is the fact that I can show up in a space and you kind of inherently know that I'm somebody different
Yes.
just by taking a look at me. And that might affect you. I didn't do anything. You might just see me and that might affect you. And I used to think I wanted to train my voice to change, and I was potentially going to get a surgery for my face to change. And I may still, I have no idea. Whatever's meant to be will be. But I've started to think more recently, maybe I don't want that. Maybe I kind of like this weird in between stage where it's very obvious that I am who I am because that does so much on its own.
You're right, it does. It's almost like the equivalent of money neutrality, which is the greatest opening. Like by you being so much of who you are, it's like you have a magnetism that you wouldn't have if you didn't appear like you appear in the middle of the grocery store. You could just be like, do this person that's just like over there and whatever. Like, so in some ways, is it kind of by design?
Yeah.
That like when someone might look at you versus just some other person over here, and like you get to smile at them, you get
Mhm.
to be in their world. It's like this silent invite. And it could be, it's up to them whether that's from a place of curiosity or whether that's from a place of anger, and
Mhm.
that's their frequency. But as strong as you are in your frequency, you're not as affected by that,
Mhm.
which is so amazing. And part of the reason why you're not affected by it is because you're not looking for validation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so if people were to come to you and say, because I'm going to give you what I see, right? So you people block money all day long because they can't show up as who they are, because they feel like they are not ready yet, they're not good enough. There's all of these reasons, right? Um, and then when people do show up for money, like you had brought up earlier, it's very difficult for them to receive, which
Mhm.
also is a worthiness thing too. It's just the flip side of the coin, because money is circular, right? We have the abundance curve, which is circular. So it's like, I feel like you have the ability to take people deeper within themselves. I love the fact that you're not saying, well, you need to be a coach, or you need to be a swim teacher, or you need to be a blah, 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 because ultimately it's like you're working at a higher level than that, right? Like Gandhi didn't walk down the street and be like, how much money do you have, or what, how many kids do you have, or whatever, right? It's almost like you've risen above that and you're like, no, 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 you can teach people how to be more of who they are, and you're effectively teaching them almost through a level of transparency and vulnerability, coined with that level of, you do have a level of permission and speaking up for yourself, just because of, like you said, like you not being always raised as a woman, right? Like you have the whole package here, really,
Mhm.
to be able to deliver to someone. And the thing that I also see about this, and I'm saying this to people out there as well, is that what Sabrina is expressing in the world and teaching and offering completely bypasses time. And
Mhm.
so don't think, oh, it's going to take me all this time to learn this or whatever. It's all about going vertical. And if you resonate with Sabrina, if you resonate with anything on here, and I always say this, take it, do what you can with it. If you resonate with Sabrina to the point where you want to get in contact with her, we're going to put that here. How can they? What's the best way? Is it Instagram?
LinkedIn, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm
what's
I'm very active on LinkedIn.
okay? So what is it? How would they find you?
You can actually find me pretty much anywhere at the Sabrina Riley. It's almost the same on every platform. So it's I mean, like you said, we'll have it in the description, but I believe it's linkedin.com/in/the Sabrina Riley if you were gonna actually type it in. But yeah, it's very easy to find me.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect. If you are wanting to go deeper with this self-expression of who you are, because I'm telling you that is linked to money. The more you show up as who you are, the more abundance that you will get. And you're always choosing that form of abundance, whether it's a relationship, whether it's money, whatever it is, what you bring to it is what you're going to receive. And so if you're feeling like you're blocked and you're looking for permission, or you're looking for something, definitely reach out. And yeah, I cannot thank you, like, I cannot thank you enough for this conversation, Sabrina. Like, you have given such a gift to everyone here. And we've got a lot of listeners. This podcast is actually surprised. I was surprised. It's very high ranked now. And
Mhm.
so, um, you've got a lot of people who you have helped and you have given your love to. And I just can't thank you enough for this.
I can't thank you enough. I've definitely struggled a little bit with being patient about, how much impact I've had. So, like I said, I've been manifesting this for a year. I've been looking forward to this. As soon as you told us in the mastermind a couple weeks ago, we're going to give you guys an opportunity to be on the podcast, I was like, I can't email you fast enough. Like, please, I am so excited for this conversation.
I know. I think you were the first. You may probably the first one. I'd have to ask Leanne, but like, yeah, I think we got 12 people immediately within 10 minutes or something, right? But I think that you were the first one. And I was like, okay, this is validation. This is what I should be doing. I should be, learning even about myself. I learned so much about myself through you guys, whether it's a mastermind or whether it's here. So is there anything that you kind of want to like depart, that you would say, okay, if you were standing on the top of a building and you had a microphone, what would you say to people?
I think I would say something that I feel like we don't often say about like self-development and growth and that type of thing. I think we usually either talk about one kind of end of the spectrum or the other. We're either like showing all the good and not showing any of the bad. We're just like, I've grown so much in the past 6 months and it's amazing. And then no one really knows what to do with that because that often makes them feel less or makes them feel like, well, I don't know if I can do that too. Or we talk about like really hard things, but we don't necessarily like give anyone anything to do with that. And I think the thing that's helped me the most over the past 2 years on this, I guess I'll call it like different timeline of this like new version of myself, is the honesty that I've had.
Mm.
I constantly ask myself, is this what's going to make me truly happy? And that's how I've come so far in the last 2 years because I actually the night that it happened, the fact that I'm trans literally dropped in. It wasn't like a gradual thing, it literally dropped in. And I accepted it pretty quickly because I was honest with myself. And I said, I am basically numb all the time. I hate my life right now. So how can this be any worse?
Wow.
And so I think it's almost just like a call to the adventure. It's like, why not have the adventure? I get that it's scary, and it is, don't get me wrong. Like I was saying, I was just having a little bit of a morning earlier. I was feeling a little bit scared about certain things. Like it happens, but you will never regret trying to just go on the adventure anyway, or trying to like ask yourself the tough questions anyway, but I can guarantee you might regret not doing that.
Wow.
So self-development isn't always easy, but it is always going to be worth it every single time. Like even as many times as you have challenged me throughout the last 10 weeks, maybe, like that wasn't easy. But I
Mhm.
can tell you I'm much happier that I'm able to show up the way I am today than the way I was 10 weeks ago. I'm not sitting here thinking about, oh my God, these last 10 weeks have been hard. I'm sitting here celebrating the fact of like how enjoyable it is to be this version of me.
Wow. Wow. Absolutely incredible. It's lighter, isn't it? That's the ironic part is that we go through the fire and it's like, oh my God, I got to get out of this. I got to fix this. I got to fix this. But when we don't fix it, it's lighter on the other side, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's because that stuff had to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so, so much. Oh my God. And so we'll definitely look up Sabrina. You're on Instagram too, right? LinkedIn and
Yeah.
Instagram.
LinkedIn, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. I'm kind of everywhere.
Okay, great. And if for some reason you can't find her, you could always send me a DM and we'll get you hooked up. You'll also see her inside of the groups as well because she's in the mastermind now, but then you're also in club too. And she's really active in there and like a massive, massive contributor and always like, answering people's questions and giving them feedback and it's funny because you're already giving so much value at such a high level. I don't know if you realize how many people you really are affecting already in a very short amount of time.
I'm starting to learn to like step into that and recognize that, but I can definitely tell you I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, so thank you for listening and enjoying this. I certainly enjoyed it. And we will see you on the episode next week.